Hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the latest broadcast, even though we're starting a little bit late, 15 minutes late. Sorry about that. I got a few things overlapping and couldn't get done with them. So I do apologize. I do like to start within the first, few minutes at least of 9 o'clock. But I am here on the 86th episode straight in a row, all related to the creating of an abundance-based world. That also means going after the different fronts against the Cabal, Qanon, Manna World Holding Trust. Recently, I just yesterday, I went to go see the John Wick's third film of the series. Very interesting. I was, at a certain point in the film, he was. I thought he actually was going to end up meeting Kim, the Manna World Holding Trust. So he didn't, but it was an interesting to watch because from the very first John Wick film. We'll go into a John Wick, segment here. John Wick is a retired assassin. And there's really so very little information out there. I mean, in this first film that he did related to the Cabal. There's some gold coins that he has stored away, right? He's an assassin that is feared in this movie. He went up first against a Russian mob figure, right? And he was retired, and there was obviously some very rules to play by this game, that he was part of this society, and he was able to get out. It's kind of like in the mob. Once you're in the mob, you're always in the mob. But he was able to get out. So you may have thought in the first film it's something to do with him being in a mob. So a criminal syndicate, right? So he was very upset because he loves his car, and someone stole his car. It happened to be, I believe it was the son of this mobster, Russian mobster. And he went after his car. And in the process, he ended up, causing all sorts of damage. But his level of skill in fighting was, reminiscent of Neo in the Matrix, right? So Keanu Reeves is the main character, John Wick. So it is very much, he's pretty much untouchable, but the blows do get landed and he does get injured. All right. In the second film, they kind of open up what's really behind what has been in this. And he was able to get out of the criminal syndicate by calling in a marker. All right, and their markers are very, your word is your bond. You will do what you say you will do, what you put your word to. And just to be sure you know what your word was, you actually put blood. You get a kind of a medallion, and it kind of has a little it opens up, and there's a place where whoever gives you the marker, gives you their word, puts their blood, right? And when you call in that marker, you put your blood. And markers are rare, first of all, right? It's not just you go about giving markers all day. No, they're very rare and very important in this organization. So excuse me. So in this marker that he got, and who it came from, was obviously Italian, right? And that there was a this criminal enterprise, this syndicate, was worldwide, and there was a table of leaders. And this table consisted, I believe it was 12 leaders. And they were the families, the cabal, the order that we've been discussing. So now in this second film, you realize that John Wick film, the character is part of the cabal. He was an assassin of the cabal that got out. And, he was called upon in the second film to make room at the table for the gentleman who gave him the marker by killing the gentleman's sister. So he basically had John, because he called in the marker. So John gave his marker to the one that wanted the seat at the table, right? So now he was calling in his marker on John. So John had to kill the gentleman's sister. Now that left room for this gentleman to ascend to sit at the head, at the table with the others of the 12 seats at the table. So this is this really is the cabal that we're talking about. This is who's controlling the banks, controlling the governments, everything that we've been discussing about what the problem is in the world is this worldwide criminal syndicate. And this new John Wick film, it dives more deep and gets more into the inner workings of the cabal, of the deep state. We might want to, we should say the cabal, because the deep state is really about the bureaucracy, the bureaucrats, the worldwide syndicate of bureaucracy that is to entrap the whole planet, right? Without representation directly with who's in charge, right? Because we just elect the people in our governments when the governments are way down here, and up here is the table, and there's all this stuff in between, banks, and, the UN. UN is above the governments. Why? Because everyone that belongs to the United Nations is it's a corporation, and they're all sub corporations of that corporation. So this inner workings of what's going on. It goes into more about markers, more about who who is behind everything, and it even then gets to the one that sits above the table. So a 13th. So we often talk about 13 bloodlines. That 13th we also refer to as the Merovingian or Machiavellian bloodline. So this table scenario is also in this film outlined to basically say that there is all this other structure that happens under the table, all the criminal activities that happen under the table, right? So we often say, in daily life, I'm gonna get paid under the table. That means outside the view, right, of everything. So this particular one, if we'll go back into the end of the second film, John Wick is on the run. Why? Because he broke the rules. There is a hotel that called the Continental that no business is to take place on. Right? Well, you can meet and socialize, but you can't do business. That also means contract killing. You can't have those things happen. So John Wick, being a his role is that of being, a former assassin brought back into the fold and started killing like crazy. Breaks the rule by killing that one, the brother, the one who now has a seat at the table on the Continental's grounds, breaking the rule. Now, the owner of the hotel is kind of gives him a kind of a window of time to get out, and said, "Okay, listen, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. You broke the rules. I'm going to make you excommunicado. Nobody can help you. You cannot use any of the services of the Cabal, the deep state. You're out on your own, and there's going to be a price on your head." So that's the end of the second film. So the beginning of this film is, everyone's chasing him, and he's got to get out. So he, and I'm not going to go into more details about that because obviously you probably want to participate and go and see that film and see what I'm talking about here. So I hope I didn't give away too much, Emma. It's okay. But it is very. So now we're getting to see what is actually else going on in the inside of this, and I believe that this John Wick's trilogy is really, and I'm sure a fourth one is on its way, and it's more about what we're doing here, the defeat of the deep state, the defeat of the Cabal. So very interesting how these films are telling this part of the story, that they're actually that there is a battle going on, and so we're participating in that battle and exactly how it functions. So anyway, so that's I don't want to go any more into the John Wick side because obviously it would be good for you to go see the film. I would suggest you could probably catch the other first two episodes. I don't know if they're both on Netflix. I think that the second one is on Netflix right now, but maybe all three, maybe all two. Both of them are, and you can see the third in a row if you haven't seen them. They are extraordinarily violent. It's pretty amazing, even what it takes to kill some of the people in this particular third film. If you think one bullet is necessary to kill someone, no. It might take half a dozen really well-placed shots to knock them out completely. So anyway, in talking about defeating the Cabal, on the front, back onto the Q movement, and part of that is Serial Brain 2. We have another episode of Serial Brain 2. So this is something that is very interesting. I have it queued up, ready to go. Where's that remote? So for those that don't know, Serial Brain 2 is a QAnon follower that is digging deep into the puzzles that are put there by Trump and the Q posts. There's a lot of what they call Q proofs, and that means that something that is said in Trump's tweets correlates with a specific number of a Q post that happened, could be way in the past to present, and it will be on topic, and they will line up the conversation, so you know that the number referred to in the tweet that comes from Trump, by taking the capital letters, putting those together into numbers, and those numbers represent a Q post. So it's that's not a difficult puzzle, right? That once that was discovered, and we can dig in deep, it went much deeper. And Serial Brain 2 gets into the deeper side of this. So you could get lost in it. So I think the best thing is you can listen to it, but just pay attention more to the decodes. When they get to a section and say, okay, this is what it all means, it's called a decode. So but he's laying out all the pieces on how to get there. Now, usually laying it out, but in this particular one, there's a lot of skipping ahead, laying out the pieces for you so that we could freeze frame and kind of read some of this stuff themselves, but he's not going into everything now. So now it's more about acceleration, right? Because the more you dig into those details individually for putting together a video, the longer it takes you to make the video, and there's probably another set that needs to be done to keep up with Trump and Q. So there is some things that are being condensed now. So they're skipping over, they're reading out of all of the posts, or they'll line everything up for you, and then he'll continue. Let's turn to Serial Brain 2, and we'll continue. And we're really talking about, in this one, Nancy Pelosi, what's been going on with her, the war that's between Trump and Pelosi, and really what may be happening to Nancy. And if you've kept up with her stammering while she's speaking to the press, and you know, Trump tweeted, you know, segment got a lot more heat about that, you know, the press defending her. There was something else that probably happened at the meeting, that very short meeting that Trump had. Trump didn't tell us everything he said to her, but there's two things that probably got her upset enough to stammer. And I would say this. Trump told Nancy, you're looking for my tax returns? I'm looking for your tax returns. We're going to be asking for your tax returns. Something like that. That's one thing. So let's go through this, and we'll see what see if you can pick up on that. But the other part that is to watch out for is, so part of the system of control that's in there is also to control the individuals in Congress, in the government. And how have they been doing that is through mind control. And I want to point out that one of the things that QAnon has said is that we're going to use their own weapons against them. Against them. So if you have mind control as one of your weapons, to use mind control against them. So let's keep that in mind.
This is not Pelosi's first rodeo, though. She knows her impeachment fantasies. It's bad politics. It won't work. And she is completely and utterly controlled by the radical socialist base in her party. As I said, it's Speaker Pelosi in name only. All right, on Twitter, the president, a special message for Pelosi, writing, quote, Democratic leadership is tearing the U.S. apart, but I will continue to set records for the American people. And Nancy, thank you so much for your prayers. I know you truly mean it. Trying to crack me up. Democrats, their friends in the media mob, they spent 3 long years trying to con you, the American people. Make no doubt, they lied to you. They lied the entire time. This is no longer the party of Joe Lieberman, even a Tip O'Neill, strong liberal, Massachusetts, Scoop Jackson. Instead, it is now the party of radical socialists, liars, con artists, and conspiracy theorists. That's who they are. That's all they own. We're the solutions for the American people.
Skip ahead here.
Danvers for a news conference. The end is near. enjoy the show. Kudos to those who followed my advice and doubled their popcorn budget. I told you here something big was about to drop. The President of the United States confirmed it a few hours later with a tweet. And recently it was announced that he gave Attorney General Barr authority to declassify documents related to the 2016 campaign surveillance. Within 24 hours, things were accelerated tremendously, but fortunately you already knew you had to buckle up. And since good things often come in twos, Q is back, and his first words are Q3336, panic in DC, Q. We are all excited, and we should be. This is a turning point in the history of the United States and subsequently in the history of mankind. For the first time, we have a leader who has the required faith, courage, independence, and means to take down the satanic cabal that has enslaved us for centuries. Going to the bottom of the origins of illegal surveillance on American soil is the end for those who thought their bogus secret societies would protect from the law and justice. This is it. There is no coming back, no compromise. The only accepted outcome is full success and getting our freedom back. There is no coming back. Q2937, this is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government, the President of the United States. America, are you ready? Are you ready to write history? Let's lead mankind to freedom. Q1961, you are not alone, patriot. You are a part of history. Never in our history has this been attempted. God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Stay the course. Where we go one, we go all. Q. We are now in offense mode. Q3331, you are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. May 2019 kickoff, start, offense, enjoy the show, Q. To enjoy the show in offense mode, there are a few fundamental elements that need to be known, and thankfully, the maestro used his latest feud with Nancy to communicate them to us. Ready? First, the President of the United States and Nancy agreed several days ahead to hold a meeting on infrastructure on May 22nd, 2019 at 11 a.m. On the evening of May 21st, out of the blue, Nancy announced she scheduled a meeting with Democrat committee chairs the next morning at 9 a.m. to discuss impeachment. And after that meeting, she said this.
We had a very productive meeting. Five of our chairs were doing their oversight of the activities of the Trump administration, presented to the caucus. Mr. Cummings talked about the major decision, which was very favorable for us. The court ruled in favor of the House Democrats. Maxine Waters talked about the Deutsche Bank decision, the case which is in court today in New York, 10:30. That case will come up. Mr. Schiff of the Intelligence Committee talked about the documents that now the Justice Department is willing to convey or to present to the Intelligence Committee. So there were three current, within the last 72 hours, examples of progress that were made to get the truth and the facts for the American people. We had other presentation from Richie Neal about what's happening on the tax, and it's very clear. It is the law of the land. And it's very clear it is the law of the land. And then, of course, Sharon Adler spoke in the beginning to give us a context for all of this. Excuse me, right now the Judiciary Committee is marching up. During that, we do have our legislative agenda that we're moving forward on. It was a very positive meeting, a respectful sharing of ideas, and I think a very impressive presentation by our chairs. We do believe that it's important to follow the facts. We believe that no one is above the law, including the President of the United States, and we believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up. And that.
Wow, a cover-up. Trump That's pretty bad to say if you were scheduled to talk about infrastructure with him a few minutes later. Why didn't she wait after the meeting? Of course, things did not go well at the White House, and the President of the United States said this.
Very much. Good morning. So I came here to do a meeting on infrastructure with Democrats, not really thinking they wanted to do infrastructure or anything else other than investigate. And I just saw that Nancy Pelosi, just before our meeting, made a statement that we believe that the President of the United States is engaged in a cover-up. Well, it turns out I'm the most, and I think most of you would agree to this, I'm the most transparent president probably in the history of this country. We have given on a witch hunt, on a hoax. The whole thing with Russia was a hoax as it relates to the Trump administration and myself. It was a total horrible thing that happened to our country. It hurt us in so many ways. Despite that, we're setting records with the economy, with jobs, with the most people employed today that we've ever had in the history of our country. We have the best unemployment numbers that we've had in the history of our country. In some cases, 51 years, but generally in the history of our country. Companies are moving back in. Things are going well. And I said, let's have the meeting on infrastructure. We'll get that done easily. That's one of the easy ones. And instead of walking in happily into a meeting, I walk in to look at people that had just said that I was doing a cover-up. I don't do cover-ups. You people know that probably better than anybody. And I was just looking at a list of some of the things that we just did. More than 2,500 subpoenas qualified for. And I let everybody talk. I let the White House counsel speak for 30 hours. 30 hours. I have 19 special counsel lawyers, 40 FBI agents. I said, open it all up. Let them have whatever they want. Nearly 500 search warrants. Think of that, a search warrant. Did you ever see a search warrant before? Neither did I. This was over 500 search warrants. And of the 19 people that were heading up this investigation, or whatever you want to call it, with Bob Mueller, they were contributors to the Democrat Party, most of them, and to Hillary Clinton. They hated President Trump. They hated him with a passion. They went to her big party after the election that turned out to be a wake. Not a party, it was a wake. They were very angry. These are the people that after 2 years and 40 million or 35 million dollars, it'll end up being a lot more than that by the time all the bills are paid. This is what happened. No collusion, no obstruction, no nothing. They issued 50 orders authorizing use of pen registers. Think of that, though. 500 witnesses. And then I have Nancy Pelosi go out and say that the President of the United States engaged in cover-up. Now, we've had a House investigation. We have Senate investigations. We have investigations like nobody's ever had before, and there's nothing, we did nothing wrong. They would have loved to have said we colluded. They would have loved it. These people were out to get us. The Republican Party and President Trump. They were out to get us. This was a one-sided, horrible thing.
You caught the sign? That's a message confirming the Mueller investigation finances will be audited. Did you like the colors? Look. If you want to train and decode with me, I recommend you listen to the speech in its entirety and list all the things you found. Here are a few clues you may use and add to your research.
Red, white, and blue. The colors are red, white, and blue.
Those things that are in red. So I came here to do a meeting on infrastructure with Democrats. Not really thinking they wanted to do infrastructure or anything else other than investigate. On the right, GPS fusion is the other side for those that don't know. also highlighted in red on the bottom, left 2 tracks, 51, 15, big I word out, executive orders. On the far right, 11 o'clock, I word, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, investigation number 4, probably 5, came down the escalator in Trump Tower. Let them play, 1 track at a time. Finish up, all set. Have you ever visited U.S. Congress? Before I give you the solution, let's walk through the Congress halls to get a better feel of what's really going on. Read very carefully. Question: who really controls Congress? OpenSecrets.org shows Nancy Pelosi, Facebook Incorporated, $15,500. Jared Nadler, $26,008. Alphabet Inc. Q2990, family tree of MZ. Who is the wife of MZ? Family tree of wife. Why won't China allow Facebook? Situational awareness. Q559, what private email address did Hussein use while in office? Who really controls Congress? The answer: China and the Rothschild cabal through big tech contributions and spying. Good. Now we know who pulls the strings from outside. Next, who runs the machine from the inside and interacts with the executive branch to make things happen? Let's listen to Putin. I will read what he said in the interview. What interested me from the recent NATO summit is that they stated that they wish to improve relations with Russia. Why then increase the defense budget? Who are you going to war against? There are some internal contradictions there, but it's none of our business. You decide within NATO who should be paid and how much. We're not worried about it. We look after our own defense capability. We do it well and with a vision for the future. We are assured in ourselves. For us, if you'll forgive me, we consider that our partners in Europe and in the US, they carry out short-sighted politics. They don't look a step ahead. There is no habit of doing that. It seems to have disappeared somewhere. I think we all desire safety, security, prosperity, and cooperation. So don't invent a mythical Russian threat, some kind of hybrid wars and so on. First you invent it, then you scare yourselves, and on this basis formulate policy.
I stop it right there. Putin is now saying exactly what's going on, right? They use fear to create the problem so they can come back with the solution based around that imaginary fear. I'm not saying that Russia is not an adversary, but you can have friendly adversaries, right? You can compete in a friendly, cooperative manner, right? You don't have to basically go to war, basically, as you have the fear that they're going to kill you, right? So, keep in mind that that even Putin is now stating this, that someone is creating this system, right? And he's going to name it.
I think we all desire safety and security. This kind of policy has no future. There is only a future in a policy of cooperation across all spheres. The main security threat in the world today is what? Terrorism. They blow up Europe and Paris and Russia and Belgium. There is a war in the Middle East. This is what we should be thinking about. But there we are debating the threat that Russia poses. After the Paris collapse, a terrible tragedy, President Hollande came to visit us. France and I agreed on some mutual points of action, and so the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier approaches the shores of Syria. Then Francis leaves for Washington, and that's it. The Charles de Gaulle turns around and leaves in the direction of the Suez Canal. That's it. Our security cooperation with France ended before it began. So while France participates in the international coalition, it is headed by the U.S. Can you decide amongst yourselves who is more senior there? Who has the power to speak? Who can do what? We are always ready. We're open to cooperation. You know, I've communicated with one U.S. president and with the second, with the third. Presidents come and go, but the politics remain the same. Do you know why that is? Because the bureaucracy has a lot of power.
Because the bureaucracy has a lot of power. The deep state, international deep state, has a lot of power. So he was meeting with the French president, and they sent an aircraft carrier towards Syria. What is that? It's like well, don't make any deals or else. Okay. Anyway, we can see that we're really dealing with a deep state, and Putin is basically putting it out there. It's a bureaucracy that is basically has a lot of power. It's above the elected individuals. Presidents come and presidents go, but who's in power? Deep state.
So a person is elected, he comes with his ideas, then people with briefcases come to visit him, well-dressed in dark suits, kind of like mine, except instead of a red tie, it's a black or navy. And then they explain what to do, and a whole rhetoric changes, you see. This happens from one administration to another. You got that? Men in dark suits? Do you know who he's talking about? Will Smith told you in this video. Click in the link below if you'd like to watch that. Peruvian coffee for those who have a musical ear and notice the non-natural scale changes and what they mean. Will talks about Roswell. In fact, this goes way back, and he knows it, but hopes we would forget. Kudos to those who know their army.
Men in Black, and they start talking about it going way back, right? So who are they talking about? Roswell. This goes way back. How far way back are they referring to? Well, how many red pills have you taken? Have you taken the red pill that's going to take you to the level to go way back? Go back to Egypt? That one might, that one gets interesting, right? We have the 14-foot tall pharaohs with strange bodies, shapes, right? So he's pointing out, that Putin is saying that there's men in black coming in who are in control of the bureaucracy. Who's in control of the bureaucracy? Men in black are just representatives. Back to the John Wick's film from today, earlier today when we were speaking about it. So in that film, this third one, they had the adjudicator that came to settle some issues. The table was not satisfied with what was going on there, and they wanted to basically lay down the law to adjudicate. She was being issuing the sentence of the judge, a judge of the judgments of the high table. But she wore a black suit. Also, she was all tatted up. A lot of tattoos for the people that are, in this bureaucracy. They even had some cross-dressers, transvestites, and as part of the bureaucracy pieces. Interesting, these things that were put into this film. So let's just continue.
Pop and detected the arrangement from Patrice Russian's Forget-Me-Nots. A link to that video is also in the description box below. Q114, U.S. military equals savior of mankind. We will never forget. Q2285, are you awake? The truth is right in front of you. Q316, how many clues must we provide?
Again, just to point out where Q's head is. U.S. military, the savior, not of Americans, not of countries, but of mankind. Could have said earthlings. Savior of humans. Against who are we being saved? Who's in the bureaucracy? Who's behind the deep state? More red pills.
Q. Now that you know about the men in black, you are equipped to read this image. Men in black, women in white. Vladimir Putin, May 2017. Then people with briefcases come to visit the President of the United States, well-dressed, in dark suits, kind of like mine, except instead of a red tie, it's black or navy. And then they explain what to do. Funded terror groups, MB Al-Qaeda, out Al-Walid. Connected to Muslim Brotherhood asset John Brennan. The Hammer connection, Brennan, Cohen, and Clapper met on 2016-12-12, according to McCain. C_agent Brennan's property, Adam Schiff. There he is sitting at the State of the Union, men in black, women in white. Conclusion, Shifty is the deep state liaison in Congress, Q2837, hashtag fly coats fly. You see it? The State of the Union was an opportunity for Shifty to display his power, his opposition to Trump, and to advertise for secret tactical support and donations. He's liaison with the deep state in the executive branch, and his main anchor point is DNI Dan Coates, as illustrated here. This is the reason he's not in the D-class loop. Q3347. Why did the President of the United States circumvent DNI Coates, normal protocol for D-class, and give authority directly to Attorney General Barr?
And this is one of the brilliant moves of selecting the Attorney General Barr. Now, Barr was formerly in the CIA, knows how to handle intelligence matters. And for him to bypass the blockades of information, the way that they've structured the information so that they have complete control out of preventing this information from being thrown out into the public sphere, right? They've prevented it from all of these positions that they've put into place. Now Trump has, as SBrain.2 likes to call him, the maestro, has orchestrated a way of which this information can flow out by now giving the authority to Barr to do it. And there's really nothing that they can do about it. And that's why you have Nadler fainting, right? Losing all of the blood from his brain leaves, because this is overwhelming pressure now, because they can't stop that information. So what does he have to fear? We shall continue.
As you can see with Pelosi on top, Nadler and Shifty are the most important pieces the cabal has in Congress. Let's take a closer look at Nancy. She has 5 main problems. Problem number 1, how to shake the maestro's hand and survive. Problem number 2, how to keep her State of the Union necklace to the right to fund her stuff. Problem number 3, how to accommodate her Chinese friends during the trade war. Look at that scarf. Problem number 4, how to hide the truth about Fisegate oranges. Problem number 5, how to keep smiling for the unhinged mob. Nancy has 5 problems, but money ain't one. Q5, follow the money. It's the key. What is Pelosi's net worth by way of one example? Why, coincidentally, is her memory apparently going? Cover for possible future indictment to plead what? Ranked 6th in the House. Pelosi 200 times richer than the number 3 Dem. Look at that number right there, above $40 million. Nancy Pelosi net worth $120 million. Nancy Pelosi's salary $223,000. demand Nancy Pelosi to release her previous 10 years of tax returns to explain how her net worth has grown to over $120 million while she only earns $223,000 a year. We know where all this money came from. Yes, and it's classified. Q informs us in Q1185 that at the 13-minute mark of this video, Pelosi makes the big error of disclosing a trip she made to North Korea that is not officially supposed to have existed, and of revealing the trade of North Korea-made missiles. Here's Nancy's big error. In Q1186, Pelosi admits travel to North Korea. They have tried to cover this. Why is this relevant? These people will lose everything. The importance of this cannot be expressed more clearly. Future events regarding Intel trip to North Korea will make heads roll. Q1187.
In that last Q post, just down below, it says, archive this now, right? Why would they say that? Because they're going to pull it down. They're going to scrub it from the internet, right? They don't want people to know that Nancy went to North Korea to sell missiles to them. Where did she get all her money? Let's see, well, Clinton's sold uranium to Russia in collusion. Nancy's colluding with North Korea. Interesting.
When we went to Pyongyang and we talked about missiles, we talked about MIAs and POWs, we talked about home, we talked about a number of subjects, but about the missiles because the development of missiles was a national security issue of concern, quoted by Pelosi. They said, look, we just make these to sell. You want to buy them? We'll sell them to you, she said. The words used regarding Intel and buying, selling will bury her. Big net worth. And classified level highest, Q. Do you now see why Nancy was initially reserved on impeachment and got out of her meeting with Nadler and Schiff in offense mode? Unlike Nadler and Schiff, Nancy afforded the luxury of playing high-level politics because she is more donor-independent than her two colleagues. She has a direct line with China, and that's what really matters for her. Knowing impeachment against Trump has no teeth, her play was to keep her troops in check and make deals as much as she could with Trump to fund the operations she loves. Brennan and Eric Schmidt see the D-class coming and can't afford to play long-term like Nancy. They respectively activated Schiff and Nadler to stop Trump. Nancy was not on board until she was kindly reminded of her trip to North Korea. I suspect this is what triggered her to get out of the May 22nd meeting with the cover-up attack against Trump. Did the maestro know? Yes. In his speech, he mentioned the I word. The fake news assumed he was talking about impeachment. Was he? Did you see his early morning 4:55 a.m. tweet? He misspelled nothing and wrote nothing without the G. Why? Because nothing would be accomplished with Nancy and Chucky. You know what the missing G means, right? It has two meanings. Add it to the I in I word, and you get the IG report. He gave it away when he said the big I word out. Pretty cool, right?
So if you're not following that, what he's saying is that Trump, in his speech, he's talking and he says, that they were discussing the I word, right? Now, everyone immediately thinks he's thinking impeachment, that they're talking about impeachment in there. But were they really, or were they discussing the IG report? Now, in order to confirm, right, a kind of a proof, right? So Trump, in a tweet, leaves out the letter G, right, to let people know that this is how these things are tied together. The Q post and what Trump says in his speeches, right? Or they're giving these clues to explain things. So now it's between his speech and his tweet that he's saying the IG report is what they're talking about in that meeting of the five. She said five heads of their chairs, the 5 chair heads, or I guess the major partners. So Schiff and Nadler. There's 2 of them. I don't know who the other 3 were, but we can see that this is how Trump is able to communicate with the people that are now listening, right? So if you become a QAnon, you become an Anon, and you're following, you start digging through this stuff and you start analyzing, you can now participate at that level. So it's very multifaceted. Well, we'll continue.
Look, now you know why the meeting was rescheduled from 11 to 11:15. Do you see the word fish in the tweet? It connects to bait and information shared out of fear from Q2249. The maestro used the infrastructure meeting as a bait to force Nancy to pick her side and stop her belly dance. This is why he coldly positioned that missing Jeep very early, before her meeting with Nadler and Shifty, and nuked them with a tweet storm all morning. Check for yourself. This proves the maestro dealt with the situation with cold logic and was in full control. This reference to the IG report is code for the general transparency dynamics that will reveal the truth and force bad actors to face justice. The next day, it started. The President of the United States gave AG Barr, the Attorney General, declassification authority for the 2016 campaign surveillance. So Nancy, do you get it? You thought you could trick the maestro to discuss the infrastructure and fund your projects, while covertly continuing to support Nadler and Shifty in their investigation adventures? Well, no. The maestro activated your guys against you with enough pressure to force you to pick your side unequivocally. Now that you have done so, the show may begin. Do you see the play? Q3309, these people are stupid. Q. You'll find the other solutions here. The clues. Notice we're doing tremendous executive orders, a lot of work. We've had a great success. Goes to sealed indictments and resignations. To Q1658, good tracking. Tracks. You've heard so much talk about phone calls that my son made to me from this meeting that was set up by GPS Fusion. It looks like, which is the other side, for those that don't know. Inversion Fusion GPS crossed with Inversion 5115 below refers to the Glenn Simpson Adam Schiff meeting in Aspen. WIMP attempt to stop D-Class. 44 investigations by Hussein at least since 2015. Look below. So I've said from the beginning, right from the beginning, that you probably can't go down 2 tracks. You notice the 51 years and 15 minutes highlighted in red. That's the inversion 5115. 51 equals Schiff, investigation, track 1. 15 is 14, 16, elliptic, 14 equals N, 16 equals P, NP, Nancy Pelosi, votes, investment, track 2. On the far right, all of a sudden, I hear last night they're going to have a meeting right before this meeting to talk about the I word.
IG.
And then you have W, M, and P in green. That's Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. This is investigation number 4 in green. Same thing, green. Probably 5 in red. Came down the escalator in Trump Tower, let them play 1 track at a time, let them finish up, and we'll be all set. Q2202, panic in DC. This goes up to immune to their impeachment game. Each case will be pursued, each actor punished, all the way to the Seth Rich case. Now that Nancy knows she can't play anymore, what do you think her next move would be? What do they do when they know they are caught? Let's listen to her the next day.
They stammer.
In terms of low or no maintenance that we haven't afforded. It's never been partisan. We don't want it to be partisan now. But
A little bit of body language, just to discuss that a little bit. If you see, she's holding on to the podium, right, with both hands, right? and she's kind of slouching. She's slouching. All right.
I can only think that he wasn't up to the task of figuring out the difficult choices of how to cover the cost of the important infrastructure legislation that we had talked about 3 weeks before. So, but the president again stormed out. I think, well, first pound the table, walk out the door. Right? Next time, have the TV cameras in there while I have my say. That didn't work for him either. And now this time, another temper tantrum home. Again, I pray for the President of the United States. I wish that his family or his administration or his staff would have an intervention for the good of the country. Yes, ma'am. I am.
Did you catch she read her notes before praying? It's confirmed by the maestro here.
No, I saw her read it perfectly, just the way she said it. It's very, very sort of a nasty type statement, but I will say this. She said I walked into the room right next door yesterday and walked in and started screaming and yelling. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. Because I know that they will always say that, even if it didn't happen, because this happened once before. I walked out, I was so calm. You all saw me minutes later, I was at a news conference. I was extremely calm. I was probably even more so in that room. So I walked into the cabinet room. You had the group, Brian, Chuck, Lizzie, Nancy. I tell you what, I've been watching her, and I have been watching her for a long period of time. She's not the same person. She's lost it.
Of course, this prayer was a coded message to the network of bad actors working for their common cause. Nancy prays for the president 187 times. I pray for the president of the United States. I wish that his family or his administration or his staff would have an intervention. Translation. I am asking anyone in his staff, family, or administration to intervene for a 187 against the president. High caps, all equal 187. Due to YouTube restrictions, I will spell it. ASSASSINATE. Small caps, all adding up to 128. It's really bad. The real message is that she's calling for a 187 against the president. We know it's not the first time. Separating high caps and small caps, we find this combination. It's really bad. Again, spelling ASSASSINATE. Coincidence? Just to make sure we are on the right track, the maestro tweeted this.
We had a long, took no longer on the floor, custody and order. Everyone, they started sending signals to U.S., Mexico, Canada. If that's not the accurate term, some people call it after NAFTA, some call it NAFTA 2.0, working together to make past that. Not with the fact, the three things. We're very busy people.
Yeah, last time I checked, this is 3, not this. It was worse yesterday. We played another clip. She could not put a subject with a predicate in the same sentence. What's going on?
You know, Nancy, I'm 76 years old. She's a couple years older than I am, and we all age a little differently. My sense is she has a very big job. I think she can worn down. She always was very neat, very proper. I think she's very inarticulate, which she's never been in the past, and I think to a certain extent she needs to kind of step in the background and not be on front as much. She shouldn't be the point person leading the Democrats.
Is she speaker in name only now, being actually controlled and whipped by her own sort of radical branch of the Democratic Party?
Well, it's a split party, and certainly the young, dynamic Democrats who want to impeach this president don't go along with her. She's sort of the old guard, and I think this is the whole Democratic problem. That Biden and everybody else are way over the hill running for president. She certainly would be perceived as over the hill at this point in time, as probably that would be too. But at the end of the day here, my sense is she should not be out there doing the kinds of things she's doing. She will diminish herself and diminish her membership.
Do you see the difference? Point made. From the capital letters, we identified 2 matches, and the length of the video, 107 seconds, provides 3 matches in context. The timestamp pulls Q809, impeachment equals 107, Allison Chains 107, Guantanamo 107. Pelosi stammers through news conference equals 430, good shape form, MK Ultra, MK Ultra, MK Ultra equals 430, stammer, repetition. Their own weapons shall be used against them equals 430.
So that's one of the things I was pointing out earlier, was that, you know, being part of the MK Ultra mind control process, they use key triggers. Those could be visual, audible. You know, get a phone call and say, the rain in Spain lies mainly on the plain. Kick you into gear. Or you see something, see everyone wearing something in purple, or everything wearing in pink, a red handkerchief, These all have a meaning in their codes. So when we start talking about, what may have triggered Nancy to stammer, right? Because she might have been getting conflicting codes. I mean, she's also in control. If you don't think they're controlling the House of Representatives Speaker, they are. And they want to control the president. They're definitely going to control the Speaker. Third in line to the presidency. So if they're going to use their own weapons against them, could they not cause conflicting programming, conflicting triggers? What if there's someone out in the audience with and Nancy, and and they shifted their necklace around, whatever the code, I don't know, but she could have seen something and then really got her to, really, well, maybe I didn't see that, maybe I did, and it's just, it's triggering her to, stumble or stammer in this case. To continue.
Q809, clowns revealed in China, other. 187 in the kill box, crowd strike. Decoded message 1 of 2. During the farmers event on May 23rd, 2019, the President of the United States stated about Nancy Pelosi, she's not the same person, she's lost it. He made a similar comment about Joe Biden. This is code for MK Ultra victims. This explains Pelosi's glitches. Dubious about mind-controlled politicians? Wouldn't it make more sense to control people when the stakes are high? Research Bill Clinton. HRC and Pelosi are neutralized. In chains, they cannot function. Pelosi's complicity in the HRC open server and missing email case is established. The president promises to use their weapons against them. If it is determined Pelosi committed treason, Guantanamo will be her next destination. And this time, the president will let her travel. Did you notice that red G for Guantanamo? This is the second explanation for the missing G in the 4:55 a.m. tweet. You thought I forgot? I didn't. Q856, 11/11/18. A parade that will never be forgotten. Ask yourself why. God bless our brave men and women in uniform. We will never forget. Q.
There we go. So I hope this helps you kind of follow along with how deep this is going. But we're really in a battle. And it's on these fronts that are not normal. I mean, you just think about it. I started with John Wick's, the John Wick films, being part of a battle to explain to the people what is going on. So there is a level of that people can accept. And part of this programming that we've been through has to also do with movies, entertainment, music, in which the programming is laid out for us in a very soft way to push us towards a direction. But their same weapons will be used against them. We can look at films like John Wick. We can see that MK Ultra programming techniques could also, if you know the codes, trigger those people to do things. So in essence, you neutralize their effectiveness. Nancy is being chained by both sides. She's getting her programming from one side and wants to go along with it, but then she'll see these triggers. Something is going on to trigger her. Trump could have gone into the meeting and said the rain in Spain lies mainly on the plane and left the room. I don't know, but we're talking about using these MK Ultra techniques against them. They're already programmed to go off and do things, be triggered by things that are visual. You know, the purple, wearing purple colors, to trigger things. Need help from the Vatican. Okay. So whatever these triggers are, they can be used against them. And they are. They're being, the war is not fought by tanks and machine guns in the streets. It's being fought in the minds, in the hearts, by media, movies. I say newspapers, but people aren't reading them. So we can see that this is a much deeper type of battle. And all we can do is try to bring those along that don't get it slowly. Yeah, I understand that you might want to bring them along fast, but you could lose them for a while. So it's best to, bring them up to speed slowly. Find out those things that they can accept. Like I've been saying, is that everyone can accept that the bureaucracy has gone amok. Can you say that the bureaucracies coordinate with one another, one country's bureaucracy to the other? Well, you got Five Eyes to lie on, right? You have this is now coming out in the open. So it's enough to get people to understand that there is a worldwide bureaucracy, deep state. It's the opening of the conversation. People are awake enough to understand this. So this is what we talk about. This is what when we reach out to the people to bring them up to speed on what's actually happening before them. And when the words treason are going to be being thrown around, or when they start hearing military tribunal, you can remain calm and explain it to them. Even if they're irrational and not emotional about it, you have a lot of information already gathered about what's been going on, and but just don't get to the high table yet. That's a little too much for people when they just woke up. Hard to decipher. So when you want to talk with people and bring those, we start with these very simple concepts. The bureaucracy has gone amok. Simple. This is worldwide. All the bureaucracies are going insane, and they have these ideas, and they don't want to listen to the people that we put in. We want to elect. They don't want to accept them, and they're going to conspire to get rid of them. So this is acceptable information for most people to hear at this point. getting to the high table, the banking, all of this stuff is a couple years away. We have to go through the draining of the swamp, getting rid of all the swamp creatures. Remember Kim Jong-un making the comment about Joe Biden, a low IQ individual, and being a swamp creature. Yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Remember that movie? Old black and white. I remember when I was a kid, I loved those black and white ones that were, simple creatures, right? Simple monsters. We have monsters of a whole other caliber to deal with. Truly frightening. But we will get there. We'll definitely get there. I'm just noticing we're an hour and a half into this. Let's see if we're going to hear from Tank. And I'm going to send the link to Tui. So again, on this one on SBrain.2 was SBrain.2, Pelosi stammers through the news conference. The end is near. Enjoy the show. That's the name. So please look into that. Please also subscribe to SBrain.2. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Always look back and make sure that your notifications are selected and you're still subscribed, because they tend to unsubscribe you. Okay, so I'm also going to send the link to the Where We Go One, We Go All.love. For those that wish to participate, you can jump on the call from there and jump on and talk. So, 10:30. This is Tank may be coming on. I see he has not read the messages as of yet, so I would guess that there is still. Interesting thing enough is that it doesn't look like it actually arrived, the message I sent. That's probably why. Now that was a user malfunction. I didn't know my Wi-Fi was turned off on my phone here. So that may do it. Well, now it's been delivered. Now, I did send it through Telegram, but Tank has not been getting all the telegrams. Excuse me one moment. Okay, well, I just had to make sure my phone was charging. So that's the reason I turned off the Wi-Fi, because it had low bat and I forgot to charge it. It was such a big battery. Oh, there you are, Tank. Sorry about the late link. I actually didn't know my phone was offline when I texted. So
no worries, man. No worries. It's cool. I looked when I looked, it was there. It was fine.
Okay, well, good timing then, because I was just going to get into doing the chats and see if there was any questions in there. But what I covered today was the John Wick's films. The third one I went to.
Yeah, cool.
And I said that it was a certain part of the movie. I thought that John Wick was going to end up meeting with Kim.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't a girl, so.
So they misrepresented Kim, is what you're saying. Yeah, I gotcha.
It might have been an older look at the system, right? And maybe it was more like a Marduk type character. But and I went through and kind of outlined how the John Wick's films are all about this battle we're in with the Cabal and the deep state.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really outlining it, and there is going to be a fourth film, no doubt, because the battle is on to defeat the Cabal.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love it.
And then I went through the latest Serial Brain 2. And so Serial Brain 2, Nancy Pelosi stammering and things of that nature. And I think what happened in the meeting with Trump, right, where about the infrastructure, and he came in and said, I can't deal with you because you guys are saying that I'm doing a cover up. I think that Trump came into the meeting and he uttered a MK Ultra mind control phrase, where we go one, we go all. No, not that one.
Okay.
The Marine plane lies mainly on the plane. Whatever that code was, right?
Right.
Or maybe he wore a special colored tie. Maybe it was a boat. Who knows what the code is to get them off, get them triggered onto acting in a certain way. But I think he then said to Nancy, "You want my tax returns? I'm going to ask for yours."
Yep.
And then he left the meeting, right? And so Nancy went out of there all like triggered to do one thing or another, and then she has the tax return stuff rolling through her head. They can't see my tax return. He just declassed everything else. Her actual tax returns are at the highest level of secrecy. So if he can declass that as part of 2016 campaign,
yeah,
that would be interesting. So anyway,
that would be a game changer. Are you kidding me? Hey, how about every one of you jerks out there in the government who are demanding, Trump's taxes? How about all of you give yours up first? Because here's a big question. Trump has lost millions and millions of dollars since he became president, right? But because it's a full-time job that requires every ounce of energy that he has. How on earth were they able to Nancy Pelosi to go from $7 million to $760 million she's worth? How did she do that?
Well, on the Serial Brain 2 said she had 42 million. That was her net worth. But
the last numbers I saw, she was 760 plus. So
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I just know what they were mentioning here. But either one, her income is $200,000 a year. She's very good in the casinos, I guess.
Well, fortunately, as she has stated previously, her dementia will not have any effect on her ability to be the Speaker of the House.
Right.
So, as you can see, although her addiction to adrenochrome, her alcoholism, and her general hate for humanity definitely will have an impact. But
yeah, looks like she's having some withdrawals effects from the adrenochrome. She's aging quite rapidly, like Bill Clinton is. You can see he's looking more skeletorish.
yeah, I hope he just kind of fades out here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I actually, my kids had a lizard, right? And the lizard, when they were like 6 years old, and the lizard ate crickets, and but it was still small, so you're supposed to get these very small crickets. And one time they gave us the wrong size crickets, and we just would put 3 crickets in there, and when they were gone, we'd give them more crickets. And then, I wasn't seeing the lizard eat, but I kept adding more crickets. Then one day I went to pick the lizard up, and he came out of his skin. The crickets had eaten him alive, and they were hiding in his little house, and they just kept devouring him. That's kind of what I think is going to happen to a lot of these people. They're just going to be devoured by crickets.
There is some karma in that.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. Well, do we have any updates from Kim and the Manna World Holding Trust today?
I spoke to Kim early this morning. We were supposed to chat at about 2, and she wasn't available, so I don't have anything right now. I know that she was cleaning up. She told me she was cleaning up the mess from the stupidity this weekend, and I said that should be the name of your autobiography, right? Because she spent so much time cleaning up these guys who just are determined to destroy humanity. So no, I don't have the latest update. I mean, I know she's on the precipice of change. This frequency shift that Thomas talked about. I mean, it's pretty marked. I mean, you can feel it and see what's going on some level, right? It's there's been just something about the weather. Everything just seems a little more crisp. So I believe that on some level that diminishes their ability to fight us. To hold us hostage. You know what I thought was great today? Was it today or yesterday? Is when President Trump came out and outright accused John Kerry of defying the Logan Act. Because the Logan Act states that no one can represent the company who isn't, not the company, the country who isn't authorized to do so to negotiate terms for anything.
Right.
And they made that a federal crime.
A long time ago.
Right. And that has been obvious that between Feinstein, who has been, texting the prime minister of Iran, like from Congress, right? And then Obama, who's calling up, and John Kerry, they're all saying, look, we know you didn't agree to the nuclear deal, but just say you did. Just it's like the whole thing is a nightmare.
And oh, by the way, we never received our part of the cash we gave you.
Yeah, right.
Where's our cash?
Because we can't move money. That's why. Yeah. Well, it's so ridiculous. It's so nice. It's incredible. The president just did what any rational human being would do. Someone is committing a crime. It affects everybody on the planet, right? And instead of just pretending it didn't happen, he just called it out. Oh my gosh, it's like freaking magic. How could anyone not love that guy? I'm like, yes. My God, you did what you should do, right? That's part of the thing that's so impressive about the president that people just don't realize. He's doing his job, right? He's doing his job. By comparison to every other president, that's incredible. I mean, because you should call out corruption. You should be fighting for the American people. We elected you, right? That's what your job is. But these guys, what a pack of animals. This chick, Kamala Harris, right, with her
yeah, that chick.
Yeah, she's talking about supporting the Reproductive Rights Act, which will make it illegal. It'll overrule all the states that are trying to make abortion illegal, right? So basically, they'll take federal control of what women can do with their body. And it's when you do things like that, it's like this is how they think they're empowering women, but in reality, they're not empowering women. They're forcing them to, basically do horrible things. It's awful.
Yeah, well, when you have 60 million, I think was it 60 or 67 million abortions being sold at $27 a piece for the fetus.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
So where is that going?
Well, one place it's going is to the vaccines. So they also had an article out today that the vaccines that they're giving all of our children have human DNA in them. And they have them made for the boys and for the girls. And for the boys, they have additional X chromosomes. And for the girls, they have additional Y chromosomes. Thus, the source of all gender dysphoria starts from birth when they force 60 vaccines down our kids' throats.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. It is a horror film. I mean, I was just talking about
a horror film, right? If they could definitely make it into a horror film.
Yeah, Soylent Green, right? It's it's these are all real things. They're not myths. This is
Green
what's
is
happening.
people. I
Yeah,
remember that. I remember as a
please.
little kid, watching that film. Like, gross. Yeah.
I remember I used to love the show Criminal Minds, right? The profilers. And there was this priest, and this priest he was known as being such a good Samaritan and all these things, right? And it turned out he was a serial killer, and he was taking the people he would kill and he would put them in the chili he would make for the church functions and then feed it back to them, right? And I thought, that's probably based in fact, right? Because that's happening. They're trying to normalize the consumption of human meat,
Right.
right? They're saying things like, there's a certain amount of human meats and everything, right? Because somebody loses a finger or gets ground into the beef.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to say, but that's not true.
Desensitizing, the people, Sorry, no, I'm sorry. You throw out that meat if that happens. You don't get to keep telling no.
Right.
Sorry,
if somebody loses a finger, please stop everything. Just stop everything. Stop and just
oops, where's Fred? Here's Fred was standing right here next to the grinder.
Just keep the line going. Just keep the line going. I know. It's like, come on. You got to be kidding
me. Another accident. Well, that's okay. It's below this many parts per million.
Yeah, right. I didn't see anything.
Not okay. Not okay.
It's like, was he legal or not? Because if he was illegal, they'll just keep it moving.
I mean, what's the purpose of a hairnet? So that your hair doesn't fall into the food that you're preparing. We don't want a finger.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a rule, as a country, if we're going to stand for something, we should definitely be like, hey, no more fingers or body parts in our food. I'm drawing a line. We can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see the wall got put up? The private side today?
Oh, I did catch that. Yeah, they did it for Memorial Day as a present, right?
I thought that was awesome, man. I mean, that was funded strictly on $67 donations. He mentioned something like small donations, right?
Yeah.
And the people put up a half-mile wall that is going to make a huge impact because it's about $100,000 a day in drugs that come across there, and about 100 illegal immigrants come across that one section, right? And the wall is 300 feet tall. I was like, wow. I mean,
it's what?
I'm pretty sure they said 300 feet tall. That doesn't sound right, though. That can't be right.
No, that doesn't. I think 30.
30. Yeah, maybe
30
feet. Maybe
30.
That's
they were very serious.
I'm like, wow, that's a lot taller than I thought. I thought about it. Okay, that's not right. But big. It's a big wall.
Yeah. So the standard size that they're putting across there is 30 feet. And it does. They're following the same standard. I think they go down. I think it's down 8 feet under the ground, right? With cement, down at the base, and then the steel basically comes over there. And at the very top, they have a 5-foot section solid. So even if you were to kind of work your way up the bars, right? Because you're hanging onto the bar, you get to the top there where you now there's nothing to grab onto. It's smooth. So.
Right. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, I think one of the other things that could be done is you could sit on top of the wall. I thought about this. One of my mental exercises on how can you improve the wall, the area. So what you do is you have at the top of certain sections, maybe every half mile or so. You put some solar panels and a charging station for drones, right? And they're just automated to basically just go from this drone leaves from here and goes half a mile and lands on the next solar panel, right? the one that was on this one takes off and goes over to the next one. And then, towards the, when they get to the end, they basically, then they flip and go back the other way. So they're able to then monitor the area. They have motion detectors and infrared, and so they'd be able to then speakers, right? So they see someone at the wall, they say, "Hey, we see you. Get out of here!" Right? The cavalry is on its way.
Yeah, I mean, you could put lasers right across, that would definitely trigger. I mean,
well, the machine gun turrets and those things are just not PC.
Yeah, no, PC. I realized I was talking to somebody about this the other day, how political correctness is actually a mind control tactic of the CIA, right?
Yeah.
And of the order, because the order is very big on proper manners, right? So like even when there's like insider interviews with the Illuminati, they're always like, if you break these rules of proper etiquette and you are rude in any way, and you don't respect my authority, the interview's over, right? And they do, and they'll walk out an interview. And they're so big on these things because what they want to be able to do is do terrible things, but then they want to talk about it in very PC terms, which is basically our whole government, right? Is they're all guilty of terrible, not all of them, but most of them are guilty of terrible things, and they just want to talk about it on PC terms. That's why they hate President Trump so much.
One of the things in the John Wick's films, and they're describing, now we know we're fighting the Cabal in John Wick's films, is that that they are really working under draconian law because it's all about blood. If you break a rule, blood has to be spilled, right?
Right.
And they said, well, you gave, like, this guy gave the guy who's like the king of all the bums, right? They have a network. Right? So all the homeless people and bums are all under this one, like, king of the underworld of the. So he gave, I think it was in the first film, or was it the second film? They gave John Wick a gun with 7 bullets. Right?
It's I saw that. I remember that.
So his punishment, had to do with, you gave seven bullets, you're gonna get 7 cuts. Right, from his blade, right, and so they had like a ninja type guy go seven slices. So that was again about blood. There's other things where you say they had to give up. That blood was spilt for each of these offenses, and death was also part of it. So any breaking of the rule meant death. I remember you said that was draconian law, so that's also very evident in this films.
Yep, that's one of the 5 or 6 films Kim has referenced, because John Wick, he goes into the hotel, right, and he and that hotel is like, it's understood nobody gets attacked in the hotel because that's a safe zone, right? And it's recognized by everybody as a safe zone. If you're there, you're safe, and you never attack in the hotel. You can't violate that. So now where Kim stays is like that hotel, right? So she says how Dick Cheney, he violated the rules, of the safe zone, right? And they took Dick Cheney's house and turned it into dust overnight because he had a house up there in that area. And everybody who goes up there and attacks the safe zone, that's why they don't come back. Because it's not just. I mean, it's like there's 9 of them on the planet, I think, and they're like intergalactic safe zones that no race of being on the planet violates, because everyone knows if you're there, you're safe. But they've violated it over and over again, sending assassins to kill Kim. And I'm just like, okay, already. Can we just take them out?
Can we extend this safe zone worldwide, planet-wide?
Well, you'd have to get rid of all the people that would violate it, And
well, I mean, the point would be is if you extended the zone and they violated, hurt us, they would be vaporized.
Yes.
So anyway, just with that,
You know, it's possible. I mean, think about it. They were able to kill innocent people in Paradise, California, with these, you know, highly high energy devices. So, but the question is, you know, like, I think a lot of that comes down to ethics, right? Like, do we want to be like them? Which it is a challenge. You know, I struggle with how do you balance that, right? You have a whole subculture that rules the planet that only responds, respects, and understands violence and control. You know, and it's really hard to hug it out with them, right? Like, they're not, you know, they're not into it. It's like,
yeah, they're not into hugging, right?
yeah, you lean in for the hug and they slap you across the face, you know? So it's not a good system.
Yeah,
So,
that's well, we have to make our mark one way or another, you know, to uh, bring hugging worldwide, or in other words, caring for everybody. Uh, that should get everyone of them to leave anyway, right? Why would they want to be here? Right? They're not going to be feeling so comfortable. They don't like hugs.
well, they don't like people, so yeah, they're not gonna like hugs. Um, so yeah, what else happened today? I feel like I was loaded down with so much great information. I was just looking at it. I'm like, this is pretty exciting, you know. I'm coming around, Dan. The plan is
No,
working.
no. No. I need to have the counter, right? You have to have the point and counterpoint. No, don't come around. Everyone else can come around. That's okay. But Tank, you got to stay over there on that side. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
You're welcome to it's okay. Just about, I've got perspective on it a little differently. I try to represent it as the way I see it, right? And hopefully we come to consensus at some point.
Well, I'm very excited in this moment for humanity to be liberated, and I got it. The anxiety that is possible, that I really try to avoid getting anxious, because I understand there's lots of things going on. But you know, we're in this moment where the real change is going to have to come from the people. And if you want change to happen, if you really are about that, people have got to be empowered. They have got to have what they need to go and make a difference. Right now, we can regulate that on a certain level and make sure that people are in agreement. Look, we're for each other, right? Like, we stand together no matter what. And you can't violate that, and it becomes its own kind of, the hotel from John Wick, right? Like,
Right.
because as a group, we embody that, right? What we will not do is betray each other, and that is the very nature of an alliance, right? And I think there is something to be said about that right now, that we're in a time where that type of alliance has to be formed with us, where we have to say, like, we will not allow this to continue under any circumstances, right? And it really seems, and I really think it's important for people just to align in many ways with what President Trump is doing, because I mean, President Trump is getting, he looks like he's getting younger. He's getting stronger. He's getting more well spoken. I am becoming more of a Trump fan every single day. I'm just so impressed with him right now. And I'll be honest, that doesn't happen much. I was always impressed with the way Obama spoke, but I was never impressed with what he did. But I am so impressed right now that you are actually talking about what's so freaking obvious to everybody else. Like, obviously this is treason. And
Right.
instead of tiptoeing around it and be like, well, there's some violations here. Well, you know what? We're going to give them community service. Well, no, we're going to try them for treason, right? And we're going to have them killed because they're treasonous, right? Because that's what you do. Because treason is
Firing
punishable by
squad,
death.
lynching, burn at the stake. There's a couple that should be burnt at the stake in the traditional manner, that witches should be eliminated.
Disclaimer: the Dank Show does not support burning people at the stake. This is a joke.
Yeah, this is a joke. Yeah. So, well, the point is that the removing people by whatever means, is legal. I don't know if burning at the stake is, but I'm just thinking of, there are certain ones that are been using this witchcraft as their system. So that's that's where that.
No, that's a good point. It might be the only way to kill them. We might have to dunk them repeatedly in water until they
cutting off their heads and removing their hearts. As a if that's the prescribed manner, so that they cannot be reincarnated. Then that maybe that's what needs to get done. I don't know, but whatever.
I will say,
that they don't come back.
Even if that's not true anymore, or with them, I think that should be standard practice just in case. It's like a horror movie, right? When like somebody goes down and they set up the sequel because two people survive and they walk away and they just left the person there, but they didn't finish him off, and you're in your seat watching the horror movie going, "What are you doing? Like, cut their head off! Like, don't just walk away! Like, finish them off!" Right? And then they come back to the next movie and kill their family.
Well, you could see this new John Wick's. It's good, but one of the things that's part of this is obviously it's very violent, right? All about this super fighting skills of John Wick. But some of the ones that he's going up against, they just are not easy to put down. And I mean, it's a half a dozen of these super big bullets. Armor piercing, so on and so on, and these guys are still get up. So very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely believe it. So it's pretty incredible here in New York right now, right? There's an incredible heat lightning storm taking place, right? And but I'm just so fascinated by the weather changes, that happen. And this just in general, I just feel like everything has a principle right now. Everything is speaking to something greater. So I don't know. I wish you guys could see it. It's incredible. I mean, the whole sky for 20 miles is lit up. Just keeps lighting up with different things. Like, wouldn't surprise me if later on I found out there was some galactic warfare going on here in New York.
Well, maybe is it blue color?
Yeah, there's lots of colors. I mean, really, it's incredible. Here, maybe I can show you guys. Let's see here. Let's see if you guys can see this. Let's see. Can you see that?
I saw first. Well, let me keep the camera on so it doesn't go back to me. So yeah. Oh, I just saw that flash. Yeah, I see it. Yep, whole sky. Oh, wow.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, really incredible. You can see for miles. Yeah. So, anyways.
I saw the yellow Hummer over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had to figure out where I get the best reception. So I basically come right by the police station, and I just stay here. I'm just like, I'm like right next to the hospital and the police station. I'm like, you know what? You guys want to mess with me? I'm following you now.
Send in the brigades.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of confirmations that we're having wins every which way. One of the things I was pointing out on the SBrain.2 was this in this that the weapons that they've been using against us that we're now using against them. Trump is directly using. I was saying like Nancy Pelosi is out there, she's speaking, and Trump may have someone out in the audience, in the press or whatever, with some MK Ultra symbols, that are going to give her conflicting programming, right? And have her go off on a new direction, right? Since they're programmed to respond, to be triggered, what the triggers are. Oh, just turn the Autobot around.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I mean, it's at some point you have to expect that, um, that all this stuff that they've done, they don't get away with. It's like
Yeah.
there just has to be a moment where it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. You guys don't get to, you don't get to act this way anymore.
Well, if I suggest you watch this Serial Brain 2 and pick up on some of the things that were done. And one of the things is Trump knew ahead of this meeting on infrastructure what he knew that Nancy Pelosi was going to pull something, right? And he delivered in a tweet with the word with one word there was nothing, right? With the G missing, right? So the G was missing from, obviously it's something that needs to be there, but okay, it's missing. So later on, Trump states when he's speaking to the press after this event happened with Pelosi, in the meeting that didn't go off, right? And he states that and they met and talked about the I word, right? But because he left off the G earlier, you say, oh well, the G is what is missing from the I word, the IG. They were talking about the IG report because that's due to come out next.
Ah, wow, that's deep.
It's deep, right?
Yeah.
So that's why Serial Brain 2 gets down there and right into like where Trump is laying this stuff out. But if you have the eyes to see and ears to hear, you can follow along because it repeats every time. You just have to watch out for the misspellings. The thing is that Trump, if he actually does a misspelling, he'll make a tweet about the misspelling, so you can literally disregard it from the puzzles.
Right.
It happens in QAnon too. So if a Q makes a post and there was a misspelling, he'll come back and correct it, by saying that was a misspelling. Otherwise, he doesn't correct them. They'll auto-correct, by he'll post something again with the different spelling, with the corrected spelling, but he won't say that it was a misspelling from before. It's actually part of the puzzle. It's very deep, but people have. One of the things I said at the beginning of this broadcast was that people are awake enough through this great awakening that you could tell them that the bureaucracy has gone amok and they don't want to listen to what the people say, and they're going to basically, get rid of Trump, right? And they'll do illegal things and even commit treason to do so. And they can now absorb that, right? And you can even say to them, and it's not just the bureaucracy of America, but it's the bureaucracy of around the world. Say, look what's happening in France. Look what's happening in England. Look what's happening in Germany, right? And where the bureaucracy is overruling. The EU is a bureaucracy, but the people are trying to get rid of it, but it's fighting back. So that's another level. So now we have Five Eyes, cooperation between all of these bureaucracies. So at a very base level, this red pill, most people can accept and they can see it, right? But if we start getting into the banking side, they're just not there yet. A good 20% of the population in America probably can understand that the banks are behind the governments. But, rest of the place around the world, they probably don't see that. So it'd be hard to make that case, but that case will be made over time. And that's after, the bureaucracy is being looked at, because once you peel away the onion layers, right, and say, oh, one layer is the bureaucracy, the politicians and the people that are running the governments, that there's a problem. Once you peel away, well, who's controlling them, right? We start moving there, we get to the banks, and then we get past the banks, we get to the families, the bloodline families.
Which is ridiculous because the bloodline families are so far down the line. I mean, they were just slaves. That's why this is such a joke right now to me. You know, it's like, look, there's not even the people they worshipped are gone, right? That they would have done anything for are gone. So the one they couldn't even touch, the one they knew existed but didn't know where he was or what he was doing, and the mere mention of his name. I mean, Tui talked about like wouldn't even say his name, right? They all felt that way. He's dead.
What was his name? Voldemort.
Yeah, Voldemort.
The one that shall
the
remain
one who shall not be. Yeah, the one who shall not be named. Yeah, it's like, you know. It's like they've kept this whole world held in this grid of fear, you know, and I'm just like, you know what? What are you afraid of? What can you hold on to here? You know, I mean, in reality, you know, even if everything went great and you were able to pull off the perfect job and the perfect wife and the perfect kids, and then what? And then everybody around you is a zombie apocalypse and they're starving and you're, I was talking to somebody from the Philippines the other day, and they were saying like how there's which of course you would know. They're saying how like you have these very, very wealthy people live right next door to people with nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, what a miserable way to exist, right? That inside the walls of my home, where we're all faring sumptuously, right outside the door, or right outside the walls of my compound, people are struggling just to get by.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed of that is, though the Philippine people are wonderful, good-hearted people, it's this poverty. I mean, it's the third poorest country on the planet. The poverty here is so bad, and it's so hard to get ahead of anything that you will cut corners. And everyone wants to borrow money because they have an immediate emergency. Everybody does.
Yeah.
So that anyone who has literally made it, right, has something, made a house, they will have everyone, their relatives and everyone around them, asking for money. And automatically it's no.
Right.
Because even these people that have made it and have a house still don't have much, right? They're still struggling, right? And one bad thing. I have a very good friend here who was well-to-do, had land and farming and everything, got wiped out by floods. His crops gone, right? He had not the ability to rebuild, and he's been struggling, right? So he's not used to, a position of not being able to even have gas money, so he doesn't drive his car, right? So or get it repaired because he can't get it repaired, right? And so there's no, there was no way for him to like go to a bank, which he should have been able to, right? Go to a bank and say, listen, I've been in business this whole time. Here's all my records. I've been always farming. I was wiped out. I need a loan. Shouldn't he be able to have a loan?
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
it would make the perfect sense so that he could get back up on his feet, right? For himself to do it, but he needs the financial piece to get it. Or insurance, is not really a big thing here outside of medical insurance, and even that is not. They're trying to force now car insurance. You can't buy a car unless you have it, right? Things like that. You can't even drive off the lot unless you have the insurance. Those kind of things. But it's that.
those are all methods to disable the economy and disable the people, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it's hard to get anything done when you got to travel all over the place just to get anywhere, and then you got to figure out how you're going to get there. You don't have the money, but you got to get to the job, and they want to make it all difficult. They make everything harder, so people don't have any free time to think and really examine what's going on.
Yep. And it's completely unnecessary. I mean, this I'm I really just want to get started. As I told you, my fantastic idea from the other day, it's really been percolating. It's something that could be really, really good. Working, but we have to buy a bank, literally, to get rolling with something like this. But we could eliminate these issues so simply using the existing system, not replacing it, but use the existing system and the rules at hand, right? And just do it, with no problem. We'd be able to provide wealth to people, right? Just to participate, just get involved, and boom, it's done. Everyone who get involved suddenly is wealthy. It's not suddenly. It's like kind of like it would happen over time, but a short period of time, as more people joined in and so on. Anyway, but I don't want to give away everything, but I'm very excited about that. Also, my other banking partners are they're saying this is really good, and we're excited about that. So, but but I've seen how the poverty here presents this situation where you literally have a shack right next to a beautiful house. I can look behind my house, and there's a shack, right? And the people that live there are the caretakers for the other house that's right next to me, right? And they rent that other house out for the weekends and stuff like that. You've got a big pool, and it's like a party house, right? And sure. I'm in a resort area, right? So people would want to come here for vacation, and that's another thing in the Philippines is vacationing is something that's very much a big part. And even the poor, the people, I don't want to say poor, but the people that have that they're actually making money out of contract work, because most work here is done by contract workers. Even if you're working in a fast food place, they are on contract. They work for 5 months, and then that's it. They can't work for them anymore. They have to move on. Yeah. So it also prevents people from because if you go on salary, then there's a whole other level of expense that businesses don't
benefits. Yeah.
Right, and so then it prevents people from moving up this contract work system. I'm glad that they're talking about removing it. But I can see how this happens here. And then of course the poorer people here think all the people that have anything are super stingy, and they are. Right? Why won't they share? Well, because if they shared, they'd be in the same place as with with all the others, because there is no borrowing money and getting it back. They borrow it and it doesn't come back, or most of the time, just depending. But I've seen this so often here, so it's really I can see why this poverty kind of traps everyone into not acting out of the goodness of their heart, because if they did, they also have very little wiggle room. They've worked their way up, and if just the one bad thing comes along, they've lost everything.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everything's like that, right? And then they're experts at creating the illusion of security. The Cabal, that is, experts at creating the illusion of security and then causing that one bad thing to happen, right?
Yeah. Well, even here's the other thing. This is just a one, say, sliver of it from this perspective, right? And of me in the Philippines. But I've seen exactly the same thing in California, I grew up I raised a family in California. I had businesses in California, and I saw that this existed there. The only difference is that the level at which you would say draw the poverty line is the people here living in huts have coconuts and live off the land that are poor.
Mm.
And in California, you have an apartment with Wi-Fi and cable and a refrigerator and a car, and you're poor. Right?
Yep.
It is the same blockade, the same barriers, right? Because people don't have enough money. So even the spendable, the excess cash is available here in the Philippines as you would have there in America. So let's say, but it would be, the difference would be dollars and pesos. So let's say everyone in America has, say, $100 spendable cash at any one time, right? As an average. But here in the Philippines, everyone have 100 pesos spendable cash. But if you translate pesos to dollars, that's $4 of spendable cash here in the Philippines. So relatively, you're not going to get as much. You're not going to be able to buy the westernized things with that spendable cash of $4. Right?
Yep, that's right.
So if you go into a westernized franchise here in the Philippines, you go into McDonald's, you're going to spend $4, $5.
Which is like a day's wage, right?
Yeah, that's a day's wage. But that's going to keep most people away, except like maybe once every 2 weeks, they're going to treat themselves, right? And go get a piece of chicken and rice from McDonald's. So,
Jeez. It's awful. Well, from that standpoint, I guess they're less poisoned because all of the luxury westernized items are all poisoned. I mean, everything.
It's okay. Don't worry. They've got them anyway because they put the MSG in the flavoring packages that they get everyone addicted to. Like the Knorr soups.
Yeah.
Those bouillon cubes and things like that. Well, they've got these, for the quick creation of a gravy type of, which you don't need it, right? You don't need those things. It's just people get addicted to MSG. So, and that's a neurotoxin, right? So, the other thing that they're addicted to here is sugar.
Sure.
So one of the main problems in the Philippines is diabetes.
Jeepers.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. I just feel like it's just really easy to change if we just could get. It's the Harriet Tubman scenario, right? She freed 1,000 slaves. She would have freed 1,000 more if she could only convince them that they were slaves. That is the world we live in. People do not realize they are enslaved to things, being poisoned, being diminished. They don't realize their own potential. They don't realize that they have the ability to be so much more. And then they'll be critical of people like us who tell them, that you could be so much more. They're like, it's almost like you're attacking. Like, well, I'm not enough. you know, this whole, Lisa. By the way, we should bring Lisa on. Thomas, she's great. She really she was talking about how she and her friends they're like, where have all the men gone, right? Because they've been you know emasculating men now for 40 years. And so her and her friends were all talking about it, like, where have all the men gone? Like, because all the men are, they've been making it shameful to be a man, right? And trying to quote unquote empower women by forcing them to be something they're not. Everything's backwards. Everything's backwards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to see like movies like John Wick. As it
Yeah.
you talk about masculine, and it's there, right? It's part of this. So, they try to suppress it, but they're trying to suppress nature, right? And they can only kind of do it to an extent, but then nature will come back with a vengeance, right?
Well, by they're proving right now, right? The biology wins because, in the same, alleged female empowerment movement, right? Um, they've made it so transgender athletes can just declare, like, I'm a woman, right? So you just have the one of the national champions for track, right? Who's transgender, you know, uh, won the, you know, uh, won the NCAA championships, right? Which which I personally find to be very insulting, because I was a college athlete, and I mean I was a decent college athlete, and I trained very hard, and in a I was a wrestler, and it was so competitive, right? It was a full time job, and it was something I had done my whole life, right, all year round, and always trained. I mean, always, and I still, wasn't good enough to be, the national champion. And I mean, like, and I worked my whole life for that kind of thing. And so you have these women who have worked their whole life to be the best, woman, and then somebody just decides, I'm a woman too, and they get to come in and win the national championship for women, who is biologically a man. And then the same thing happened in the high school track championships. Is that first and second place in, like, several events ended up being these two guys, right, who haven't had any, haven't had a sex change, haven't, and they still were you know the fastest girl. I mean, they crushed it. The fastest girls. I mean, they were, so they're completely take. And then, like, the female transgender, um like, powerlifting champion, or I mean, sorry, the female powerlifting champion is transgender, right? They're just
Well,
declaring, like,
well,
we don't acknowledge biology anymore at all.
well. Here's the thing: why is there even a sporting event about heavy lifting for females?
Well, I mean,
I listen. It's I'm not saying about being physically fit or anything like that, but this is a man's sport, right? Yes, of course, women could start a sport and do that, but what? How is that feminine?
I mean, I don't know. I
You
don't
know,
necessarily agree with
and
that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with there being women powerlifting. Like, I think it should look differently. But, like, like for example, I was a wrestler, and I can tell you that because there was female wrestling came on the scene, right? And because of Title IX would make it so you had to have, equal boy sports and girl sports. So wrestling would get cut from a lot of programs, right?
it's
And
okay if there's mud involved with the women's wrestling.
oh, see, that's why they hate us. Oh, come on, man.
Well, no, I'm purposely poking the bear on this one because
But
the point is that there is a male and female side, and literally, I mean, as I was joking with you before, it's like the Little Rascals had
the He-Man Woman Haters Club, yeah.
yeah the He-Man Woman Haters Club, only boys allowed, right? I started by saying that we should have all men's clubs, right? Because men should be able to get together and only be men together, and it has nothing to do with hugging it out, right? Especially naked.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of stuff again in California. I said, "Oh, we've got a men's group, and we all get together and share our feelings, and we just happen to be naked too." I said, "No, I don't think so."
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think California is the most. There is nothing about as much as beautiful as California is. To me, that is like the state of shame. It's like the state of shame and embarrassment. You're raising your kids to be 15 genders. What the hell are you talking about? 15 genders. What have you even looked at this yet to see what they are? What are the 15 genders?
I have not looked, and I don't know if I want to. I don't think I even want to know, right? Because of them doing this, it's like participation. You just have to say, listen, kids. When they tell you about this, they're wrong, right? There's two, right? Unless you're born with both genitals, there's two genders, and in that case, with the one that was born with two, they are both. but that's just an anomaly, right? Or literally, you can have a Siamese twin, right? Or what they call it, conjoinal twins or something. That one was male, one was female. So I mean, there's some oddities, that happen in this way, but it's not a standard something to be standardized around, right? Because that's only meant to basically, they're speeding this stuff up so fast because they know that they're limited time, but they can't stop it, right? They only know their plan, and they just have to keep executing their plan. All their planners are gone.
This is an absolute mockery of humanity. By the way, as you were talking, I pulled up the gender chart, right?
Okay, you can share it. Go share your screen if you can.
Can I? Let's see here. 1 second. How do I do that?
I don't know from a phone. I haven't how to do that exactly, but if you can, if not, you can read them. Maybe
nope, I can. But I will give you an idea. Let's see. You have agender, genderless, intergender. No idea what that is. Gender queer non-binary, I think it says. Pangender, polygender, transgender, alternative version, transgender regular version, gender fluid, epicene, no idea what that is, demigirl, third gender, new choice, agender, female and male. They still have those. That's good. I'm glad those made the cut. I mean, and the symbols are like insanity. Like they must be spells, right? Like it's like circle with an arrow and a line through it, and a line on top of it, and a duck bill, and it's like, what is this? Oh God. Anyways, well, I could go off about that forever.
I'm just looking it up to see if I could find it, so I could pull it up.
Oh, good news! Good news! I was put in my place. Someone else on Chronicles came out and said the RV GCR has happened. So congratulations, everyone! You all made it. Yeah, I think it was like 2 days ago. It happened 2 days ago. They're just doing the soft rollout, right? Soft rollout. They're doing the same thing with all of the emasculated men. They're also doing a soft rollout. They're relatively impotent and never effective, but whatever.
Yeah, I found another gender chart, but I think it's more about a parody than anything else. But it's kind of funny. I mean,
yeah, this one might be a parody too. Actually, I don't know. I mean,
well, let me show this one. This is amusing because the reason is because we can't allow anyone to be offended.
Can't allow anyone to be offended?
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
Can you see this?
Oh, 1 second. I'll look. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yep.
Gender chart. So this is from 2016. I'll say female body, female parts, female chromosomes, female brain. That's a female, right? Female body, female parts, male chromosomes, female brain. female body, female parts, female chromosomes, male brain. Okay, so it's like they're just dividing them up, different sections here, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So down to the male body, female parts, female chromosomes, male brain. So they have 16 groupings here. So Now this is obviously it's from from 2016, so it wasn't current. But
Right,
I
right.
think
It didn't
it
have the
was,
latest science on made up science for let's just lie and say a bunch of crazy things over and over again.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Dan, what's the next big drop, man, in the Q movement? What are we waiting on?
Well, I would say what we're going to see is going to be the this IG report. Uh, will we have any declassification by Barr before that? Probably not. I think we're going to see the IG report. It's supposed to be out, now or in the next couple weeks, no matter what. You know, uh, so they were saying the end of May, right? So or June. So it's relatively soon. But this time delay that's in here is all to get the all the machinations of the press to go around and try and spin it and look nuts, right? And they're being very successful in looking nuts. So we can see
So
that,
useless.
we can see that this is something that is going to continue to unfold, but it's about the IG report. I think is the key, because after that, the IG
What is the IG report exactly?
Inspector General is investigating what was the collusion. So who was colluding with the Russians? Now that we know that Russians were interfering, what is the interference? The interference was because of the of Hillary, right, colluding. She colluded. She wanted to cover up her collusion and pushed it on Trump. So I think that's what we're going to see is him pointing out that the collusion came from Hillary. And now that the Barr can then declassify any of this information as it's coming out, it's going to be like a nonstop flow, right? So once does this, we've got. I don't know. Did the Comey report come out? Because they were saying that the Comey report was due. I don't know if it actually came out. I don't think it did. I think that was one of those other false dates that they put out there to get Comey to go nuts, right? And get the reactions. Everyone said, so what happened? Comey went on TV. Brennan went on TV. Clapper went on TV. They all pointing fingers at one another. And then then the Comey report didn't come out yet. So they're making them dance. So I think.
Hey, you know what would be even better than them playing this game, this stupid, useless, who cares game? Arrest somebody. Arrest somebody.
Yeah.
Do that. You know what speaks volumes? Results. Stop talking about it and be about it. Get the job done. Jeepers Christmas.
Yeah,
Last thing I need is something played out in the public eye. Who cares? Like, we all know they're criminals. Like, just do something about it. Enforce a law, for the love of God.
Yeah, they're following the plan to get this out and wake up the people.
Well,
and
the plan was broken, we know, and the plan would have ended in our genocide. So I hope they, deviate from the plan somewhat. And let's go to the results. Let's jump right to it. Okay, we have more than enough evidence to convict all of these people because Kim has given them a mountain of evidence to bury all of them. Just use it. Just use it. You could do it, guys. Take the evidence from the UN Black server, and just go get the information and use it. Take these people down, get them out of the government. Everybody man up. You know what? We'll forgive a bunch of the infractions that, a lot of you guys are guilty of, because you got involved with something stupid. And just let's push the planet forward. Let's do that.
I think we are in that process, and that's what it is. Because if they do it all of a sudden, just like went and arrested everybody, everyone would just freak out. That's the problem, and you'd have rioting, and that's the thing they're trying to avoid is to do it in a smooth way.
Wait a minute. You think this docile public, where they have to pay actors to pretend to be violent, to pretend to be tough guys, to pretend to be these things, you honestly think that they're gonna riot? No way in hell they'll riot. Nobody's gonna riot. They're gonna
Come on.
take them out and they're gonna say, "Look, here's the evidence." And
Right.
everyone's going to be terrified because they realize, oh my gosh, I'm on the wrong side of this.
Well, you've seen a sissy fight, right? You know, the slapping back and forth like this.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, you know, we got to avoid that.
Why? What are we afraid of? Black eyes? Like, we need to
Might get
protect people's
scratches.
eyes.
You might get scratched. You know. No, I listen. I agree that the amount of hype around the rioting and that is that the people are going to rise up on their side. Their robots, their drones, that they have to have them, you know, repeat after me speeches before they go out and put up their signs that they don't even know what's on their signs. And but they are going to, you know, be mustered to go out there. But it's the other paid mercenaries and those type of people that they will put out there for the false flag part. Oh, I said the double F word.
Oh, right. You know,
Yeah.
I know that here's another thing you can do, right? Just an idea. Most of these false flags are triggered, right, by media cues repeated over and over again till they activate somebody, right? So how about we just acknowledge that the media has been an active participant in a coup against a seated president in an effort to cover up massive acts of crimes against humanity. And they are all guilty. And you show up with, now, I know this is crazy, but military who show up there with guns and say, "Get the hell out of that seat, you lying bastard. Go out. You're going to go to this cell. You're going to write down all the horrible things that you've been a part of, every lie that you've confessed, everything you've been a part of. And if you don't just go and do that, you are going to a military tribunal that we're holding here right now." Like, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what governments do when they're being taken over. You either stand up and own your space or you get taken over. Like, they're doing it everywhere else. You have to see that we're so indoctrinated, so drugged up, we're in such a malaise that we don't even know to stand up. I mean, because people are too concerned about being politically correct versus, you know, saving their kids. You know?
Yep. Yeah. No, I got you. You know, we're close to this time where the arrests are going to start. Is it 2 weeks from now? Is it 2 months from now? It's somewhere in there. I don't think it's much longer than that. We're there. So
the Chinese elders had a dozen bankers sitting around the table entering codes that they gave them. And if those codes failed to access the trust, they had an assassin behind them that took their head off. Now think about this. That happened in Reno, right? Where all the magic happens, right? In Reno. That's who they are. And people think they're gonna what? We're gonna keep playing the game of the order and keep being politically correct and, you know, I just don't, you know, I'm not an advocate to take violent action against anyone, but at the same time there has to be action that allows people to understand what's happening. You know, because if no one knows, how could anyone make a really intelligent decision about about their vote, about their life. You know, like you don't know what's going on, right? It's like
Right.
if you know like 1/100th of the story, and you base everything on that one piece, of course you're going to make, you know, you're going to be in a constant state of being irritated against other people, right? That all these conservatives are crazy, right? Well, if you think about it, it's like, well, if you knew the other 99 pieces and all of them are designed to kill you, and while you are fighting me, I'm fighting for you. Do you really think people would be so self-righteous? Like it'd be really so hard to let go of it if they just knew what was going on. So I just want to level the playing field.
Yeah.
You know,
We're getting there. Just not today, but we're close. I appreciate wanting to have it done now. I think that they have their plan. They're just going to execute it. So, we'll be there soon enough. Yeah, even with the but that's why they're asking us to get the popcorn and just watch the show. It's to wake up people to engage them on this topic, and that's why we're there. So anyway, we're getting close now. We should probably start winding it down. If there's anything else we should talk about, or we can wait till tomorrow.
no, we can wait till tomorrow. Appreciate you staying up so late, and I will.
Let me.
I will talk to you tomorrow.
I'll call you right after. In a few
Okay, cool.
minutes. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you.
Everyone,
Bye.
be sure to like and share. Be sure to participate with us in best you can on maybe the Telegram groups or the one where we go all.love site. You can join us there and add content. That's the next focus there is get more content going in forums. Until then, see you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.